Chase Young and Terry McLaurin were both in pads on Wednesday as the Washington Commanders got their Week 1 practice schedule underway. And I believe that one of them will be wearing pads again on Sunday. Which one? I'll tell you that coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Commanders.
Your daily podcast on the Washington Commanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome in, Commanders fans, to this Wednesday episode of Locked On Commanders, your daily podcast covering the Washington Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks so much for making Locked On Commanders your first listen of the day every day. And don't forget that you can subscribe for free on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. And you can continue this conversation with me by becoming a Locked On Commanders insider simply by going to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnCommanders, where you can text me during practices, press conferences, especially on game days. We're going to be doing some deep dives on data analytics, and we're going to be doing some film studies in the very near future as well. Or you can just talk football with me one-on-one. Your host, David Harrison, DHarrison82 on Twitter, credentialed member of the media covering the Washington Commanders for CommanderCountry.com, a part of Sports Illustrated's FanNation. I'm here with you every Monday through Friday, sometimes other days, along with our everydayers and everydayers. You already know I appreciate you for coming through on a consistent basis like you do. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $20 off your first purchase. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. On today's show, we're going to go over the latest transactions by the Washington Commanders, and we're going to discuss the announcement of this year's team captains, including two players who are first-time captains of the team. But we're going to start off today's episode by talking about practice.
We're talking about practice.
That's right. We're talking about practice, the first official practice of the season for the Washington Commanders. And we're just going to kick this thing off with the practice report, our first official practice report of the season. Not participating in practice. I know this is going to make some of my insiders very unhappy to hear. Dax Milne, wide receiver, punt returner, still dealing with that groin injury that he suffered during training camp preseason earlier in August. And, so did not participate in practice. And that is going to come up again later in today's episode. Limited at practice were wide receiver Terry McLaurin, who's still dealing with turf toe, and defensive end Chase Young still dealing with the after effects of the stinger that he suffered in Week 1 of the preseason against the Cleveland Browns. Full participant, but on the injury report, cornerback Benjamin St-Juste, who is dealing with an ankle injury. I'll tell you right now, I saw him walking pretty fast in the locker room. Didn't look to be too hampered. I'm not a doctor, so take it for what it's worth. So we got our first official news, injury news anyway, of the year, and we're going to break this down. So Benjamin St-Juste, ankle injury, full participant in practice. Typically, if you're a full participant Wednesday, you're probably okay, looking pretty solid. So not a whole lot of concern there. Dax Milne, the wide receiver punt returner, I don't know that I would expect him to be playing on Sunday. So we'll talk about that more here in just a little bit as well later in this episode. So we're going to focus in on the two guys who were limited, right? Terry McLaurin, who obviously suffered the turf toe injury during the preseason, hasn't really been seen since. This is the first time we've seen him in a couple of weeks, you know what I mean? And we walked out and immediately you saw number 17 standing on the field, and that makes it a good day all by itself. And then, of course, Chase Young, who's been dealing with the after effects of that stinger. So starting off with Terry first, Ron Rivera, post-practice, of course, he was asked about Terry McLaurin and Chase Young. Started with Terry. Coach Rivera said, quote, Terry looked really good. He took the reps that we had listed for him, and he looked good. So obviously the opportunity to increase them tomorrow will both certainly occur. It was a good day for him. So good news from the coach, confident, you know what I mean? Sounds like he's happy with what he's seeing from his star receiver's recovery. Turning to Terry McLaurin himself in the locker room, Terry McLaurin was asked, of course, about the injury. And he said, quote, that's my plan, when he was asked if he plans to play. I'm a fighter. I want to be out there with my guys, end quote. Now, Terry also said more stuff, kind of paraphrasing what Terry McLaurin said. Basically said that if he wasn't feeling good, feeling like he was capable of playing, like he should be on the field, he wouldn't have been out there in pads on Wednesday with his teammates. So the fact that he's even out there shows that he is feeling like he is certainly on his way to be able to play Week 1 against the Arizona Cardinals. If I have to be honest, though, I don't know that the Commanders need Terry McLaurin, right? And before we go too far, it's okay for me to say that. It's okay for fans to say that. It's not okay for Terry to say that, or the team or the coaches, right? But I'm out here. I can say I think it's okay if the Washington Commanders don't have Terry. So I certainly hope that if Terry does play, it's because he's better. Not because he's okay, not because he's almost all the way better, but because he's fully better. Because I don't believe You need Terry McLaurin to beat this Arizona Cardinals team. Come back tomorrow. We got a crossover Thursday episode with Alex Clancy, host of Locked On Cardinals, and we'll see what he thinks of that take. But I'm pretty confident that Terry McLaurin or no Terry McLaurin, this Washington Commanders team should be able to beat the Arizona Cardinals. Love to see number 17 on the field. Always want to see him on the field if he's healthy. But if he's even a little bit not healthy with that toe, I'd rather them go without him. Maybe make him active and put him on a pitch count. You know what I mean? Only take him out there if you really need him. I don't know what the right answer is, but maybe I'm going too far. The opposite of RG3, right? Let's protect our stars here in a game that we think we can probably win without him is the attitude I would have if I were the Washington Commanders. So that's Terry McLaurin. I do believe what Terry says, so I do believe he probably will play on Sunday. That being said, again, hopefully it's because he's 100% healthy, not because he's just died, right? Now let's flip over to defensive end Chase Young. Suffered that stinger against the Cleveland Browns preseason week 1. Ron Rivera said of Young, quote, as far as Chase is concerned, as Chase told you, talk about that here in a minute, he's doing everything he can to get himself ready to play. We have reps scripted for him. We have certain periods that he can participate in. And again, it's going to be all up to what happens with the doctor's visit that he has coming up soon. And we'll go from there. But the young man is chomping at the bit. He's done everything that he possibly could, and he's getting himself ready to play. And if he's cleared, he'll go, end quote. So Coach Rivera, a little bit of diagnosing, a little bit of projecting, but also a little bit of defending Chase Young, right? Because I think a lot of people have kind of been wondering, this is a stinger. A lot of times players, they suffer stingers and they come back in the exact same game. And no, not every incident, not every, experience of this is exactly the same. But to see a stinger go from week 1, drive 2 of the preseason all the way into the regular season, potentially threaten someone's regular season debut, that's a little weird, right? But at the same time, it's also a little weird to see a defensive player have 2 knee surgeries for tearing 1 ACL. But that's exactly what happened with Chase Young, a couple off seasons ago. So nothing about this has been really, I guess, normal, if we say, right? But Chase Young himself told reporters in the locker room that he feels pretty good, saying, quote, I'm ready to go, straight up. And then he also said, feel fine. I'm ready to go. So Chase Young's ready to go, guys. Chase did say he was asked about the doctor's appointment. So he has a Zoom call coming up with his doctor. Asked when that was. He said they're still setting it up. It's got to be either Wednesday night, Thursday, Friday. I guess Saturday at the latest you could go, right? But I think before Saturday, before Friday, the team would probably like to have an answer. And I got to be honest with you, because of all that, I'm not so confident that Chase Young is going to play on Sunday. I'm definitely more confident in Terry McLaurin playing on Sunday than I am Chase Young. Maybe some of this is gamesmanship, right? We've seen it from the Arizona Cardinals. Who's going to be the quarterback? It's most likely going to be Joshua Dobbs, but it won't be confirmed by the team, all this other crap. But is Chase Young going to play? Maybe they know something that we don't know, and they're all laughing at us and they're saying, ha, look at them trying to get ready for Chase or no Chase. But to be honest with you, I don't think that's happening, because without Chase, like, you prepare for this Washington Commanders defense the same, whether it's Chase Young or not. It's just if you don't have Chase, you go, yay, it's not as difficult. If they do have Chase, you're already prepared for it. So I don't know how much gamesmanship could be in there. But again, because of the weirdness with the stinger, because of the unusual amount of time that it's lingered, I can't be fully confident that Chase Young is going to play until we see Chase Young cleared on the injury report, because we've seen him doing everything. We've been seeing him do a practice that we can see now, because we can only see a limited part of practice from now on. So I've already seen what he's doing, and he still hasn't been cleared. So again, it's hard to put those connections together unless you get to see him. Still, good news to see Terry McLaurin back on the field. Good news to have Chase Young in pads, and at least it looks like it's progressing. More good news came in on Wednesday morning as 2 Washington Commanders found out that they were going to be first-time captains of the team. That's coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Commanders is brought to you by Harry's. Because of my beard, I don't have to shave much these days, but I still have to go through and clean up some of the neck and the facial growth between trims. And when I do, I want to shave that is comfortable and affordable. No matter why you shave, Harry's has you covered for the best shave of your life at a price you'll love. From their legendary high-quality razors to skin products like exfoliating face wash and hydrating lotion, Harry's gives you a premium shave without the premium price tag. Get better quality and a better price than other razors when you get Harry's delivered right to your door. A smooth shave shouldn't be rough on your wallet. And right now, the starter set is a $13 value for just $3 at harrys.com/NFL. That includes a 5-blade German-engineered razor, weighted handle, foaming shave gel, and a travel cover. Then you can schedule delivery for refills as low as $2, half what you pay for other blades. Harry's also makes the skincare products that will give you the best shape ever. There's no reason, honestly, not to try Harry's. Get your best shape ever this summer with Harry's razors and skincare products. Get a $13 starter set for just $3 at harrys.com/NFL. That's harrys.com/NFL for a $3 starter set. Thanks again for making Locked On Commanders first listen or review today and every day and every dayers. Thanks again for coming through every day like you do. I appreciate you every day that you come through. The Locked On NFL season preview is here. The 7-episode extravaganza brings opinions, analysis, and plenty of debate from all 32 of our Locked On NFL hosts with added insights from our national experts. It's a can't-miss series before the season kicks off. Catch every episode on Locked On NFL on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Also here on this feed or on the audio feed as well, depending on how you are listening or watching this episode to this show. Team captains were announced by the Washington Commanders on Wednesday morning, and 2 first-time captains were announced, and those 2 guys are quarterback Sam Howell and safety Jeremy Reaves. Now, before I give you too many thoughts on my thoughts on the 2 new captains, let's hear from them first. Starting with quarterback Sam Howell.
Sam, what do you make of just kind of a fresh start for you? You get the chance to be a starting quarterback, new ownership. What are you expecting out of kind of what Sunday's going to be like for this entire organization?
Yeah, it's just a great opportunity. Obviously this is a very exciting time in this organization and in this franchise, and to get out there on Sunday at FedEx Field in front of a sold-out crowd, it's a dream come true, and it's a really big blessing for me to just have this opportunity to lead this team out there on Sunday, and I'm just going to try to do everything I can to make the most of it. This is definitely not something that I take for granted, and I know I'm super blessed to have this opportunity, so I'm going to try to do everything I can all week to prepare and give myself the best chance to go out there on Sunday and be successful.
Just your second year pro and you're named a team captain. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, it means a lot. Definitely another thing that I don't take for granted. Just to be named a team captain and it being voted on by other guys on the team means a lot to me, and it's definitely something that I don't take lightly. That's definitely very thankful of my teammates for giving me that honor.
Hey Sam, how are you?
How you doing?
Obviously you've been QB1 throughout your career, but this is different, going into an NFL season opener. Do you keep some of your same routines that you've had in North Carolina, or have they kind of adjusted now that, QB1 in the pros?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think there definitely are a lot of things that are similar, from a recovery standpoint and getting my body feeling 100% by the time Sunday comes, and even from a film study preparation standpoint, there is a lot of similarities, just because I know college is obviously a different level, but you still have to prepare for the same things in college as you do in the NFL. Obviously our schedule here is a little bit different, but yeah, I think just from in college is where I learned how to watch film, and I learned how to break down tape, and I learned how to really know exactly what I'm looking for when I do watch tape, and how I kind of go about certain things throughout the week. There definitely are some similarities in my preparation process.
All right, so that was just a portion of quarterback Sam Howell's press conference on the morning of the news coming out that he has been voted a team captain by his teammates. So that's obviously great news for the young quarterback. And look, a lot of people say that, of course, he's the quarterback. Of course, he's going to be a team captain. And I think something important that Ron Rivera actually said in his post-practice press conference that really kind of hinted that this wasn't an automatic selection, right? So Ron Rivera said that when it came to the captain voting, he kind of sat there and said, oh man, I really hope they pick the quarterback, because if your team votes for the quarterback to be the team captain, then it means, at least to a certain kind of level, right, they buy into that. They kind of are co-signing that decision. And that's exactly what the locker room did by voting Sam Howell into captaincy, as they kind of threw their support behind him. And Ron Rivera said it means that they get him and all those things. And I can tell you right now too, just seeing the way that he interacts with the guys in the locker room, on the field, like it's a very friendly relationship, but it's also one that is very respectful. And I think that's important when you talk about a young quarterback, to have that kind of rapport and relationship inside the locker room. It's very, very important. So to hear Sam also talk about how much he appreciates it and how much he covets it, it's something that he respects, and that he's going to go out there every day to do his best to make sure that he earns over and over and over and over again. Speaking of earning over and over and over again, everything that a guy has gotten, safety Jeremy Reaves is the epitome of grinding out for everything he has ever earned in the National Football League. Let's hear from him now. Thanks to Charlotte McBride and the fam over at WUSA 9 in Washington, D.C.
First off, congratulations on being named captain. What does that mean to you?
It's an honor, at the end of the day, you want that recognition from your teammates that you're somebody that, they feel that can lead. And I think my career alone has kind of given that example of, somebody that's kind of just had to get through things and keep fighting. So, it's a biggest honor. I'm super grateful.
What were your feelings when you first found out?
It's cool. I was super happy, super excited. At the end of the day, though, before I even got to see it, I always felt like I was a leader, even when I wasn't playing necessarily. So just to, get that recognition, I was super happy. Feeling blessed.
Now you guys are getting ready for Arizona. What's it been like in this locker room?
Oh, excited, man. We're playing real football now at the end of the day. So we get to go do it for real now and go compete and go win games. At the end of the day, that's why you play the game. You want to win, you want to go out there and compete. And so this is what we get to do now.
When you look back on your career, you've always been that underdog. You've said that. You've always been fighting for that spot. Last year made the 53-man for the first time. Again this year. And now to jump forward from being a captain now. Has it hit you yet?
Yeah, I would say yes, it has. Honestly though, I've always felt this way about myself, even before I got to. I always felt this way about myself before I even was on the 53 last year. I've had this mentality my whole career, so just for it all to kind of be set in stone now and me going out there and having to prove it all over again.
Does week one this year even feel a little different, just knowing the extra buzz than other previous season openers?
I've never played in a sold-out stadium. I ain't played in a sold-out stadium for a home game since I was probably in high school. It's like even in college I didn't have one. So, this is different. The feel around it. I've gotten messages and from people like, "Hey, can we get tickets?" I never really got that. So it's different. The fans are back into it and they're excited and they're hoping for a great year. So we gotta go out there and produce.
All right, that was Jeremy Reaves talking about getting his captaincy, his first-time captain. So he goes from undrafted free agent safety to an all-pro, Pro Bowl special teams player, making the 53-man roster 2 years in a row, and now he is a team captain. Well-deserved. I gave him a little fist bump in the locker room, congratulated him, because that dude, I think I said it before on the program, but if I haven't, let me say it now. If you want to be a fan of a commander and know that your fandom is invested wisely, be a fan of Jeremy Reaves. That is a dude that you want to get behind on your favorite team. So super happy, incredibly happy for Jeremy Reaves, incredibly proud of him for everything that he's done. Happy for Sam Howell as well, and look forward to seeing those guys lead their team onto the field here in the 2023 NFL season. Joining them, however, they're the first-time captains. There are some other more experienced captains joining, and wide receiver Terry McLaurin, of course, being named a captain, defensive tackle Jonathan Allen, cornerback Kendall Fuller, and punter Tress all getting their captaincy here for the 2023 NFL season. So those are guys who have been here for a little bit. Sam Howell only a couple years, but been here for a little bit, and now they're getting their turn at leading the team. Next, we're going to turn our attention to some newcomers, including one who's returning home after a brief time away, wide receiver Jamison Crowder, and what he is potentially going to bring to the Washington Commanders. That's next on today's episode of Locked On Commanders. And today's episode of Locked On Commanders is brought to you by Game Time. I can remember vividly attending my first music festival when I was 14 years old. I stood in line for hours with my friends to get tickets, and by the end, I almost didn't even care if I got a ticket as long as I get out of that stinking line. In the end, I got the tickets, and it was all worth it when I got to spend the whole day at Red Rocks Amphitheater listening to bands all day with some of my best friends and a whole lot of new best friends, right? All culminating with the headline band, The Offspring, and what is still one of my favorite concert memories of all time. But buying tickets to your favorite events should be part of the fun, shouldn't be stressful. Today, thanks to Game Time, it doesn't have to be stressful. Game Time is the fastest and easiest way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. You even get images of seat views, and that really takes the Game Time app to a whole new level, in my opinion. Plus, Game Time is a place for last-minute ticket deals. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. It's the fastest growing ticket app in the country for a reason. So snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Closing out today's Wednesday episode of Locked On Commanders, talking about some roster moves that the Washington Commanders made on Wednesday. Veteran wide receiver Jamison Crowder visited the Washington Commanders on Tuesday. We talked about it briefly, kind of touched on it, really didn't dive too much into it, but then he signed a practice squad deal on Wednesday. So what does it mean? Well, it means to me that Dax Milne's practice status of did not participate because of a groin injury is likely to continue. And in fact, I'm pretty sure Dax Milne's probably not going to be active week 1 against the Arizona Cardinals. I asked Coach Ron Rivera in his post-practice press conference about what Jamison Crowder did during the visit to lead to his being assigned to the practice squad. And Coach Rivera said, quote, "First of all, a veteran that was comfortable out there going to catch punts for us. He looked really good. He's a very crafty, shifty route runner and kind of looking for a little more veteran guy out there as well to help out. We'll see how it goes, how the rest of this week unfolds," end quote. Between the lines, what that means is if Dax Milne can't go, Jamison Crowder is likely getting called up from the practice squad to take his spot on the game day active roster and will likely be an additional receiver, but also be the punt returner for the team on Sunday against the Arizona Cardinals. Doesn't mean that Dax is out, just means that they're already preparing for the potential, the likelihood even that he will be out. So Jamison Crowder, 777 career punts so far, punt returns so far in the National Football League, 677 of those coming for Washington from 2015 to 2018. The team also signed undrafted free agent safety Keidron Smith, who was with the Miami Dolphins this preseason. Undrafted free agent out of Kentucky, started his collegiate career with Ole Miss, spent 4 years there before going to Kentucky in 2022. Lance Zierlein said of Smith on NFL.com that he's, quote, "a big, strong cornerback lacking top-end speed and an athletic lower half to stay connected with routes. Smith plays with physicality as his default. He has the demeanor and skills necessary to clean up the flank as a run defender. He's not anticipatory enough for deep zone coverage as a cornerback, but he might have a fighting chance to make a roster if he is utilized as a bump and sink cover 2 corner or if he makes a transition to safety." I read that profile and I said a big corner, so I had to go see him, and that dude is big. I mean, I didn't stand them next to each other, but he kind of looks about the size of Cole Turner. That is a big safety. Think Buffalo nickel type of guy. So, and again, not starting, not week 1, but just, you know, when you're talking about what kind of mold does he fit for the Washington Commanders, think Buffalo nickel type of guy. In order to make the room for these 2 players, the Washington Commanders did have to release 2 players from the practice squad: defensive end William Bradley King and offensive lineman Nolan Laufenberg, both getting released from the practice squad. I was most surprised about Laufenberg. They were cross-training him to be a center. He got some second-team burn during training camp in the preseason. So I kind of thought that he was, you know, kind of a guy who was maybe on the edge of making the active roster to the practice squad. But apparently the Commanders had other plans. Doesn't mean that Laufenberg is gone forever. It just means that he's gone for now. And the interesting thing about him, you may not remember, he's the Air Force cadet, Air Force player who came, you know, got a waiver from the Department of Defense to play football. So now that he's not on a roster, I'm not really sure how that works out, to be quite honest with you, and if he's got a certain amount of time to get on another roster before he has to report for duty, or if he has to just report for duty straight up. So that's something obviously we'll monitor. Hope to see him back soon because he's a good dude, and I would like to see him continue his NFL dream if he can. Magic Johnson was also in the building along with managing partner Josh Harris. They spoke to players, they spoke to coaches, they attended practice, and honestly, they ruined my day a little bit. I would say ruined, but they definitely threw my schedule off. I never thought I'd live a day where I could sit here and say Magic Johnson messed up my schedule, but here I am on Wednesday, September 6th. This is why this episode is actually dropping later than usual on YouTube and on audio streams, is because Magic Johnson delayed my schedule to the point where I had to do another recording before I could do today's recording. It's just been a whole jumbled mess. You don't care. You just want to get the episode. So I should probably wrap this up so I can go edit this and put it up for you so you can listen to it and tell me how wonderful it is. Coming up tomorrow, it's Crossover Thursday. Alex Clancy, host of Locked On Cardinals, is here as we talk about the Commanders versus the Cardinals Week 1 matchup. In the meantime, if you got questions or comments, throw them down in the YouTube comments. Hit me on Twitter. Email me at lockedoncommanders@gmail.com or send them to me by becoming a Lock Insider at joinsubtext.com/LockedOnCommanders. As always, thank you so much for making Locked On Commanders your first listen of the day every day. Or thanks for coming through on a consistent basis like you do. And thanks so much for making me a part of your day, part of your football routine. Until we speak again, please be safe, be kind. I'll see you next time for another episode of Locked On Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.